The sonic universe isn't just a cosmic pop rock artist with a deep message. It is the journey of love and light that we are all embarking on. Founder and frontman Alex Arndt is a Virginia Tech graduate originally from the Washington, D.C. area. Alex has toured in over a dozen countries worldwide, including Ireland, Netherlands, Japan, Peru, and Australia. He's played at festivals such as Ultra Music Festival, South by Southwest, Summerfest, Nom Show, and Malibu Music Awards, just to name a few. As human rights advocates, the Sonic Universe is recognized for their performance in front of 25,000 people at the Defeat the Mandates rally in Los Angeles, and for their TikTok video address calling on humanity with over 250,000 views. With releases like Shatter, Unplugged, which charted at number 4 on Amazon Music USA, the group seeks to unify humanity one song at a time. During our interview, we explore Alex's spiritual growth, his adventures of spreading light on mainstream media and abroad in Korea, and the lines and vibrations he is currently holding. I'm Sienna Mae Heath, and this is Leaving the Left for Liberty.
Wake up, they're trying to control us, it's evil. But we can overcome by unifying people. We gotta find a way to love one another. Set our differences aside and rediscover how to shatter the walls that keep us from connecting. Break the illusion, no more confusion. Shatter the fear that holds us back from loving. Once we believe it, we can receive it.
Since we've been in touch for quite some time, I've just been really intrigued by your ongoing spiritual growth and your growth as a creative. I believe when we got in touch, you were just getting ready to perform at the Defeat the Mandates rally in LA. And that was a big moment for you in your career and just overall, standing up for what you believed in. I know for me at the time, during the Defeat the Mandates era, if you will, we were kind of in this place where some were putting as a priority their material reality over their spiritual reality. So the idea that like one's material reality, one's vaccination status had to be the same for them to be treated equal. But I think what you and I and other spiritual people had in common at the time is that we were saying, no, like it says behind you, like love is all you need. And your spiritual nobility and your existence as a noble being is what really matters. And I was getting the sense of that sentiment from some of your music, like in the song Shatter, which you performed at the Defeat the Mandates rally. So given our spiritual kinship, I would say, and where you were at that time in history, you could say kind of recent history during the Defeat the Mandates era, what was that experience like for you performing at the rally in LA?
Yeah, it definitely, I like how you set that up. It's definitely one of those moments in time that I think none of us will ever forget. The feeling at performing at Defeat the Mandates was sensational. It was so invigorating and exciting to be there with, I felt like it was called an American homecoming, but for me, I felt like because it was in Los Angeles in 2022, right? So it felt like a homecoming, performing in front of 25,000 Los Angeles or Angelinos, that just felt so heartwarming, because it felt like we were all there for this same cause, and we were a big family. And I think that's probably why, you know, when I was getting ready to go on stage the first time we played Hold the Line, a couple people backstage asked, you know, are you all at all nervous about this? Or and I was not at all. Which, I mean, usually, you know, performing for a big crowd and stuff like that, you know, might have a little bit of nerves, but I just was so happy and just so excited about it. And because I knew that this was part of some kind of destiny that is part of my quest. And and I definitely felt like more in alignment at that period than I think, I don't know. I think just I felt really in alignment with the divine. Um, yeah. So
How beautiful. And I'm curious, what are your beliefs around divine timing and perhaps fated moments such as this?
mm, yeah, I think that we're all sort of on these timelines, and you know, the universe, God will drop a hint right in your lap, and you'll just feel it through your sensations. You'll know when um, when you're being spoken to, when these things are in divine timing. I mean, if you are in alignment, you should be seeing synchronicities and divine timing vibrations on a daily basis. But then when it's really uh, the ultimate in divine timing and placement for us, um, everything in your reality starts to shift. Um, and yeah, and I guess there's something more powerful and fulfilling about you know, like with defeat the mandates and just standing firm for humanity and for truth and love, and doing that in as big as way as possible, so that you can touch as many people as possible with that truth and that light and that love. I think in a moment like we have been in and are still in right now, to have that uh, stance and be firm in that, and have the passion in that. I don't think there's anything that could be much more fulfilling than that. It's crazy because, you know, people die to stand for their truth, and and they gladly do it. And that's just because at the end of the day, if you can't do that, the reverse feeling would be much worse, that that you did decide to do what you were called to do here on Earth. And that's why, people that are so brave, like RFK Jr. and him running for president right now and not even being protected by Secret Service because, but just he has to, this is part of his calling, and it's just so commendable to see people being brave, and I want to embrace that spirit much more as this time goes on.
There's a common thread of feeling like you don't have a choice but to stand up for freedom, which is such a paradox, right? Like feeling compelled to advocate for personal liberties, and feeling called to, and as a musician, you mentioned like hearing and feeling vibrations. And when you're, like you said, like in alignment, do you ever hear things that you feel are kind of like directly channeled from the divine, hear things or feel certain vibrations? And if so, what is that experience like for you?
Yeah. Well, so like on the daily, it's numerology, seeing the 1111s and the 444s and more of those types of angelic numbers. And then it's, then it's meeting that person, that divine friend that you're supposed to see for a certain reason, meeting them somewhere in the world, out of all the billions of people in all the cities that you could be in, and then you just see them somewhere, and it just gives you goosebumps, or it's those synchronicities that have to somehow be much more than random. It's that complete alignment of your being with the like vibrations. And when you're living in love and light, then you attract more of it. So.
Yeah, I've been experiencing in recent years kind of a shift from the paradigm of like resisting in my own world, like from the paradigm of resisting to attracting and magnetizing, and rather than like, set in a way, hold the line, like which is what we did during the Defeat the Mandates era, like co-create an environment, like what happens after you hold the line. Like what happens in, like, let's pretend the line is a circle. Like what happens after? What do we create in that space that we've defined? And then also, what do we do with the connections that we've made with those divine friends that we've met? And lately I've been thinking about how my friendships have been so kind of made or broken, but those that have been made, that have been enriched, it's almost like I didn't know what I was missing in my friendships before 2020, before we experienced that collective adversity, and seeing how that affected relationships, how that formed new ones. And I would actually agree with the experience of a divine friendship, these divine friendships. And I've heard, I think it's Ram Dass says that we are all one soul mate. Like there isn't two, there isn't a countless number, but we are all one soul and one mate and one story. And I think when we consider it that way, the divine friend is God, and then we become mirrors to one another. And there's maybe less of an emphasis on like us and them or one divine friend in particular, but there's more of this like interdependence that forms. And I do feel like we're in this place of like kind of humanity coming together as a meaningful microcosm. And overall, my question is still like, okay, now that we've held the line, now that we've created this defined space, now what?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Well, I think the holding of the line is an ongoing process in this time. So those of us that have held the line must stand firmly and keep holding the line in in many different ways. And then we have to call out to those that have sort of been on the fence of that holding of the line and get them to join us. And yeah, it's crazy because I think, everybody desires to feel good and just have peace and be comfortable and this world can just shake you up, and then you have to deal with that, and we have to help each other through all this. And so I think, like you were saying before about uh, your knowing who your true tribe uh, was, you didn't really see how that shook out till maybe 2020, and I couldn't agree with you more on that. Somehow it kind of drew a line in the sands, which is interesting, because at first I thought, oh, that's unfortunate that this is happening, but at the same time, I think it kind of gives you a little bit of clarity on who values what and where people's heart and souls are at, uh, and also where their consciousness is at this point in the game. So maybe after seeing that and then, yeah, developing this tribe and cultivating these relationships that we have, then we can all stand together as community and family and embrace each other and keep on giving each other strength, you know, for continuing to stand firm in our truth, and also to create the new paradigm. You know, while everything is happening over here, whenever it comes into our space, you know, we got to hold the line in whatever way that is. But then also in our own space, we can create our own form of love and light community, perhaps like a 5D kind of reality, and we're going to see how all that, how what where the line is, you know, how we can be outside of the mess. And I don't know if that's going to be like a consciousness divide or what that is, but
Yeah, I've been considering over the past couple of years like the 3D and 5D and even like 4D concepts, and like the old earth and new earth concepts. Like I think for like in some kind of new age content, there's this almost like this very literal split that's shown, and it's like, well, okay, like if this very, I think it's a very like 3D way of showing it. Actually, it's like, well, if some of us leave, then like, what happens in the 3D, and like what happens and what do we create, and like I think it's way more complicated than that though. Like I think each of us has a line that actually we need to hold within ourselves, and hold ourselves to high standards and to certain standards of nobility, and like you said, love, freedom, and love is freedom. Like love is saying to your divine friends, you are free to choose however you want. You are free to embody your values in a way that's authentic for you. And in the meantime, there are boundaries, and what relationships can form, and in what containers can we be companions and nurture healthy relationships and ascend. I know you probably entertain the idea of ascension. For those who might not be familiar with these concepts, could we maybe, like, you could help me like break down what is 3D, what is 5D, what is ascension, and so forth?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I would say 3D is what we're all in this plane of existence that we're all in on Earth here. Um, it's what we know, and what most people know. And then 5D being that place um, where you can transcend the barriers of those three dimensions and exit outside of what that is, what that matrix is, and um, be in divine love and bliss no matter what is going on in 3D, because your consciousness exists outside of that, outside of those dimensions in this higher fifth dimension. Um, yeah, that's kind of how I see that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I pretty
Better
much see it as
explanation.
like ascending from a fully material reality, integrating material reality with spiritual, and then um I guess flying high in like these high vibes, which I can't quite comprehend exactly what that looks like, but I do experience, I have these peak experiences, or like these waves that I ride where I'm like, this feels different. And I don't know if it's just like that's how life goes, and I happen to be in a certain stage of life where things are going well and I'm creatively flowing in a meaningful way, which I know you are too, or if we are in some sort of like portal, or like divinely inspired or divinely timed moment in history. And I do get the sense that we are in a divinely timed moment in history. And you were saying like holding the line is an ongoing process. So we're hopefully past the defeat the mandates era. We'll see now. It seems there might be a new variant, but COVID aside, what is the line that you're holding, and what are the values that motivate you to hold it?
Uh, yeah, I guess just backtracking. So I will say what motivates me and what my values are towards that, but just kind of interesting, like the moment in time that we're doing this interview, and kind of what we both know could be right around the corner. Um, that's an interesting. It's interesting to think about, because there's this date that's supposedly what, 4 days from now. So, but I guess regardless of that, what what motivates me is that I know that I was brought here for a reason, and there's something about authenticity, um, that I've I've like looked this being completely authentic, like straight in the face at a few different points in my life, and that's determined the direction. And basically, I mean, there was one point really, I don't know, when I was in San Diego a number of years ago, but I had this breakthrough moment where I decided if there was anything that was inauthentic, and I came up with two things in my life that were inauthentic, I thought, or that needed uh to sort of like become the truth in those things. And I just felt so firmly about about that. And I guess it's just like who I am and where I've come from. I had so many uh spiritual, eye-opening, earth-shattering experiences growing up, like as a teen, um, where I was just discovering secrets of the universe, and figuring out who my divine soul was, not this body, but just who I am as an eternal being. And I figured out who I was and what I stood for. And so, talking about, any of this, standing up for freedom and human rights. And I mean, I used to sing about rights for animals, and speak at animal rights conferences. And I mean, I still would if somebody asked me to. Um, but like, that's why I stopped eating animals 20 years ago, because I just wanted to show compassion and love to beings in general. So I always like felt that we were at this point, where we were good, for the most part, with supporting each other as humans, but that there's this speciesism, and that people are mistreating animals. So I felt like I need to stand up for those that don't have a voice. And then just like somewhat recently, I'd say it kind of regressed to this point. Well, okay, now we got to stand up for ourselves. Like, I mean, this is getting really serious. What's happening in the world, and those of us that have had the veil lifted, um, just know it. And there's so many of us that really know the story, the narrative, and how deep it is, and why. And it's all, these beings that want complete control over humanity. And so I think God is calling us to stand up for love and light and truth. And this is what those of us light workers were brought here to do. This is that moment in time. Like, you might not have known exactly how you were standing up for your brothers and sisters until all this stuff really started hitting the fan over the past few years. And now those of us that know that we've been called here to keep up that good fight, it's just very apparent that we must. And yeah, and it feels good at the end of the day, like when you let go of the fear and you just think about what you're doing, to love your neighbor by just standing up and saying, you know what, enough is enough. I stand for what's right and just and truthful, and that's it. You know, I think it feels good to do that.
I hear you on that. And forgive me, I'm actually not aware of the date that you're referring to. We're on September 6th now, so are you
Oh,
referring to
is it?
September 10th being some sort of pivotal date?
Oh, I don't know why that's weird. I'm glad it's only September 6th. I don't know why it was. I thought we were September 11th. I don't know why I thought that.
Oh, oh yeah, it's
So when I
coming.
said 4 days, I was speaking of September 15th. Um, so September 15th is out, Alex Jones had leaked that he got tipped off that they were going to start requiring the TSA agents to wear masks on September 15th. And then sometime later in October, they would have mandates for everyone. And then by December, there would be lockdowns.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah. And so it sounds like I don't know if you heard that what Alex Jones had leaked, but I guess you had kind of seen things about them, different variants or whatever
Yeah.
they're talking about right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if it pans out that way. It seems like a really unoriginal plot, but
Oh
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think at this point it's kind of like, whatever works. Just like, let's put it on the schedule. This is happening September 15th. It's just part of I guess it's just part of the plan. And I don't think they care at this point, um, whether it seems plausible or not, because they know that there's this large percent of the population that will believe anything that they tell them. And if you speak to the contrary, the fact checkers will say that it's wrong. And as long as you believe the validity of the fact checkers, because it's the fact checkers, then you'll.
I mean, I don't know it. I'm wondering if there's actually a majority of us at this point who have woken up. I do think there's some residual resentment still from the pandemic, regarding like how those of us that didn't get vaxxed were treated. And I think there's a lot of conversations and work that needs to be done. I sound like such a social justice warrior, like do the work, but also, like during the Defeat the Mandates era, we saw so many people of different medical choices and walks of life coming together.
Yeah.
And then since then, I personally know local friends and family who have changed their tune. So I'm not so sure that it's actually like all these lockdowns. I'm not so sure that they're going to be as effective, in the way that the elites want them to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I for one hope that that was just a false flag or something, and that they're not ready to try that, you know. But I guess we have to be prepared for it. Yeah, I when I heard that, I thought, gosh, that's a bold statement, and you know, if you got that information from somebody that wasn't telling the truth about it, that it would just be like um, just some noise. But sure enough, right the day after, I started seeing all kinds of little news headlines and different, you know, like it all started, the dots for that timeline all started kind of lining up. So um, yeah, but I agree with you. I mean, there's got to be, I think we've noticed within our community, there's got to be so many more people that have woken up. I don't mean woke, but I just mean have you know, expanded their awareness about things that are going on.
Yeah. When just reflecting on your own story as an artist, as you've expanded your awareness, especially in the past few years, what has that been like for you, like as an artist, as a musician? How is that expansion reflected in your creative process?
Yeah. Um, well, I've just noticed that uh, some of the lyrics, things that I want to talk about, have to do with opening up to these apparent truths that are out there, and not being afraid to see them, not to focus upon them, to focus on the highest vibration, but to acknowledge that they're happening. Just like if something in the room is falling this way, and I have the chance to catch it, or you know, if there's a reason that I need to get out of this building or something, like those are important things to know because they're part of this 3D world that I need to pay attention to just to keep myself safe. And I think that's something that we should all be aware of what's actually going on. And so I like to talk about those things in the songs. And I think, you know, at a certain level, like my writing, I went through different phases of songwriting where I think in general, I like to sort of have like a poetic, um, mysterious type of writing that kind of applies to different things, you know, where you might think it just might resonate with a bunch of different people in different ways. It's not so on the nose, where I still am trying to do that to a certain point, because I don't like being so specific in a verse or something, just with the style of the sonic universe in my writing. I like it, just I want it to feel timeless, and I want it to feel um inspiring and poetic, and but I'm finding ways insert this awareness or this truth in a way that feels like I'm still doing my type of writing style justice, and that I'm not being too on the nose. So it's like this fine line of 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 writing like that. But I guess being letting down my guard about wanting to do that, and letting myself be a little bit more free to insert the things that I feel like I want to insert into the songs, talking about um, talking about these things that I'm observing. Yeah, so.
Hmm. The song Shatter, I think that was the first song that I listened to of yours. And the name immediately drew me in because like here we are shattering these old paradigms and these old ways of life. And essentially I would say like the story of separation. I had Charles Eisenstein on the show. And we discussed this old story of separation, the notion that there is us versus them, or that we are separate. Um, and also, what I was picking up on as you were speaking just now was this fine line between truthfulness and authenticity, which I think is like if you embody art as a way of being, that's a fine line that you walk because you want to be truthful. There's the belief that truthfulness is the foundation of all human virtues, but then also like harsh truths, or even just what might be called brutal honesty. That really isn't art. It's more so that like the authenticity and meeting people in the present moment and transcending the differences, which is what I see you doing. And I did not get a chance to review some of your lyrics, but I'm curious, like as we're talking, if any lyrics from Shatter or another song come to mind that reflect the paradigm shift that you believe we're in.
Yeah. Um, let's see what's it's funny. I try to remember lyrics off the cusp like this, and I have to sort of sing the song to be able to remember what the lyrics were. In Shatter, there's something in the second verse. Uh, Here, let me pull it up real quick. Here we go. Shatter lyrics. Here we go. Yeah, so in the second verse, it says they've even split up friends and families, ideologies that draw the lines between us. Wake up, they're trying to control us. It's evil, but we can overcome by unifying people. Yeah, so like it did kind of get into some of these things. I think that's my way of sort of putting some of those harsh truths inside of the verses, and then coming back with what we can do in the chorus. Is it seems to work out well to kind of do that if I want to be harsh with that truth, then I want to resolve it with shattering the darkness, and coming back into love and light. But I think sometimes it's important to to just put those things out there, just so you know what you want to, just so you can see the difference between that and what you actually do want. I think it's important. And that's the cool thing about songs, is that I think that you can do that in a way where, even though it might be a depressing verse or something, that you can resolve that, and by the end of the song, leave people with hope and light in their soul.
Absolutely. And one example of like us versus them mentality is like independent media versus mainstream media. I mean, there's definitely difference. But I know that you went on mainstream media and performed your music. Was that Good Morning America or a different station?
Yeah, it was a CBS
CBS.
station. Yeah, for some type of morning program. Yeah. I mean, and the way that I feel, I caught a little bit of flack on certain types of social media for that. Hey, what are you doing going on mainstream?
Yeah.
But the way I feel about it is, whatever platform I need to be on to shine good vibrations, high vibrations to people, I will. If it's going to reach people, and especially in that way. I once took a pizza delivery job, so that I could shine my light to just regular people trying to eat these pizzas, and I would always tell them how they could make a pizza vegan. But I just think sometimes, like, showing up in a place where it seems like maybe you don't belong or something might be the best place, because maybe sometimes those types of people need your message more than others. So yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good with doing those types of things, as long as it's not in a political one way or the other. Sometimes people have asked me to do something that, that was just CBS, so it's mainstream media, but which you might say is on one side of the political spectrum, but it's not really focused in that. I just kind of mean like certain shows that are really far one way or the other, on purpose, like that's what they're driven to be on this side or that side of the political spectrum. I've stayed away, even though they were big spotlights, but I know that it's important to not go one way or the other, because then that continues to divide people, and that's part of maybe some sort of plan in setting it up that way, so that people are on opposite sides of the spectrum. So that's the only thing that I wouldn't do if it's like a far right or a far left. But
yeah, I've heard on a spiritual level, there's promise in noticing when you are invited to do something, and if it at all seems in alignment, even if it's uncomfortable. That's the tricky part. It's like pushing through the discomfort and choosing comfort over courage, or sorry, courage over comfort, rather. And often, like, I do think there's something to that, is accepting nearly every invite, but also resisting the ones that are out of alignment. When you were invited on CBS, what did they tell you in their initial correspondence as to like the reason why they wanted you to come on?
Um, yeah, just they just wanted they just wanted artists, to interview and fill the spot, and saw me as a fun artist to interview and perform on the station, um, on tour, and yeah, I don't think they thought so much into it, which sometimes they could. Um, I know one of my favorite artists is Tom McDonald.
Hmm.
I'll
They
mention
probably
him.
wouldn't invite him on.
Well, what's interesting is he's got so many interesting stories, but um, earlier this year or at Christmas time, he released this pop song, and it was getting radio play, um, and then it kind of won this spot for this national in Canada, this national campaign where it was going to get very high rotation on all the stations, and he was really excited about that. And then it started, and then the next day it got taken down, and it was because people were writing to the station and saying, "Oh my gosh, you do not know who this guy is? Like, look at what he's doing." And the song that was in rotation, it was this sweet love song, pop song about his girlfriend. So it didn't have any. There was nothing political about it, but it's like they didn't even really like look too deeply into it, or maybe they did, who knows, but like it got too much resistance, that I guess the head of that corporation said, oh yeah, we're gonna not do this, we're gonna take this down, because of who, not because of that song, but because of who he is as an artist, and they couldn't align with that anymore. But it's like they hadn't even, I don't know, they didn't maybe even really consider it. They were just like, oh, this is an awesome song, and look at this great artist, but maybe they like dig too deep into his stuff, or I don't know. So
Yeah,
so it's it
yeah.
so it's interesting, because I wonder about that kind of stuff too. I really do. I wonder, um but at the end of the day, I tell myself, you know what, I'm not trying to hide anything. If people find out something that they don't like about me, and they, can't have me on. And that's what I thought. I thought, well, you know what? Maybe at some point before, because it was scheduled, quite a while in advance. And I thought at some point, some program director is going to write me and you know what? I'm sorry, Alex, but I think those types of things too. I'm like, they might uncover something about me and my music and my stance that they don't like, and and I've thought that about a few different things. Some of the bigger shows that I've played this year, with like some organizations, I've wondered, how do they really feel about my stance? Are they do they know who I am? And then I realized that no, of course they do. Of course they do. Because and I found out about the program director at CBS too. I guess, and sometimes I think people, even if it's not their stance, which is nice, they like that. They just like it that an artist is willing to to take a stance, and that's super cool. If people have that feel, that means that somebody's really opened up, but then you've got other people on the other side of the fence that will completely um, not want to align with you for your stance. So.
When considering artistic freedom, I think it's relevant to consider what that means for an artist and also what it means for someone appreciating that art. And I mean, there are artists out there who have done absolutely horrendous things, like committed horrendous crimes, but you could be standing in front of a painting, be holding a song or a story that they've written and have no idea who they were, who they are, or the lowest moment of their life and perhaps the shame that they felt. And I think
Mm,
there's freedom in not knowing, and if you do know,
mm,
in being able to set that aside and appreciate the art for what it is.
mm. Oh yeah, completely. Yeah, I totally agree. Um, yeah, I've certain I've seen certain stories, maybe not even artists in particular, but just very successful people and whatever they've become, and part of their story is where they came from. Like for instance, somebody that was a gangster and didn't know any better, and that's how they grew up in a gang, and then they were killing people, and they went to prison, and then they discovered what real love and God, and they woke up, and now they love people, and they would never hurt anyone. They just didn't realize, and now they're maybe very successful, or so. I don't know. You've probably heard some stories like that before, and it's amazing how people can really change, and just completely awaken right here in this lifetime. And then yeah, it is so freeing, you know, and inspiring to see that, and definitely I know for music artists that that's true as well. Even with guys like some of the like early uh hip hop guys that were involved in just kind of stupid stuff, has to do like violence, that was sort of supported by that. You remember like gangster rap, and it
Yeah.
was all part of the culture, and even like a guy like Snoop Dogg was it because was a part of that genre. Um, but guys like Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, like these are some really amazing human beings, and they speak. You can tell in the way that they like who they've become and who they've grown into that they totally put all that behind. Like I was at this Snoop Dogg concert, and he was like, like we're gonna play this next song just because it's kind of like it's just the OG's thing. We have to do it, but I want you guys to know that like at the core of me, I'm all about peace and love, and that's who I am. And as he changed his name to Snoop Lion, and then he did this thing at the concert. He was like, I want you to repeat after me. He was like, peace, and everyone's peace, and then love, love. And he did this for 5 minutes. We were all chanting peace, love. And it's like, just to see like something like that, where you come up from this, like, I'm gonna shoot you with my gap, and then now, like, that's where the real truth and love is. And then a guy like Ice Cube to be standing up for freedom and not taking the jab, and knowing what's good and what's right and wrong, and to turn down a role for $9 million because they wanted to do the job. Guys like that, like, so much respect for.
Right, that was pretty bold on his part.
Yeah.
And like, the story of Snoop Lion, as he now calls himself, it reminds us, like, no one is beyond redemption. No one is beyond rising above degeneracy. And I don't use that term lightly, but I think there's a lot of degeneracy in our culture, and there always has been. And now we're in this time. I don't mean to put so much emphasis on the specialness of the time, but at least in my lifetime, like, I haven't seen anything like this, where so much is coming up to the surface so quickly. And I think it's a really fruitful time for artists to kind of ride that wave and hone that pure power of redemption and transformation and character development, which we see in fictional stories like that. I think that that pure power it really influences the initial theme of this show, which was the hero's journey, and how each of us can embark on leaving a familiar world behind and creating a new one, and what it's like when you almost never look back and you commit to being a higher natured version of yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm kind of just going up and like into the cosmos with this train of thought, and like just considering too, like, the name of your band, or I guess, would you say it's a band? It's just you, right? So the Sonic Universe, like, what inspired you to come up with that name?
So, the Sonic Universe is literally just means the sound of the universe. And just from the core of me, from forever, I just feel like a cosmic being. And I'm so fascinated with the fact that we are on this speck of dust in vast universe, and the nothingness and the everything that is that. It's like there's nothing more fascinating than this life itself. There's no better movie script than just what is this right now, and just knowing where we are in this endless universe, this infinite reality. I just wanted something epic enough sounding that would make all that, that would resonate with people, and just be the name that I could stand by forever in this lifetime. And it's actually think 2008, 2009, I was sitting there with my girlfriend and co-writer Kay Glenn at the time. She really helped me formulate a lot of my ideas at that time, and I knew it had to be something universe. And we had this printed out thing with all these different words that could go with universe, you know. We were just like going through them. And finally, it's like we both really resonated on sonic universe. Then the crazy part about the thing was I was just so, you know, like that divine calling. Sorry, am I still there? I was getting a call. That divine calling of that name, I just felt so passionate and certain about it. But it's kind of a interesting little story, is that I noticed that Sonic Universe is a comic by Sega, Archie comic, and it's been out for longer than that. It was out before that. And I thought, well, what if I just named it the Sonic Universe? And, you know, that Sonic Universe, this is the Sonic Universe. That's a Sega comic. This is the music, you know. And I tried to get some attorneys' opinions, and like, hey, you know, can you help me trademark this? And what was really funny is I got 3 different attorneys. One was a guy that was teaching my music course, music business course. You know, I thought, oh, I could ask him, and 2 other music attorneys, and they both all said, you know what, like, that's not worth it. The one guy said, I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. Like, that's crazy. Like, why are you even going to try that? That's Sega, you know? And then finally, I was just so kind of heartbroken that I couldn't go with the Sonic Universe. That one day, Kay said, why don't you just call them yourself? And like, what could it hurt, right? Just try it, because I was feeling so defeated. I was gonna call it Sonic Paradigm, which ended up being the concept album, like first album. But I didn't want to call it. I wanted it to be the Sonic Universe, and so I said, okay, yeah, I'll call them, and I called Sega of America up in the Bay Area here in California. And then I got in touch with Sega headquarters in Japan and got legal approval from their lawyers that they were okay with me trademarking the Sonic Universe. And why would they be okay with that? I mean, why would they say, yeah, sure, like, it's okay if you do that? We don't have a trademark on Sonic Universe, and we're okay with you trademarking the Sonic Universe. We don't see any conflict with that, and we support your music, and please send us any future albums and stuff like that. And that was such a cool victory in some sort, because I just really divinely felt like this is the name. And so that it's very special, I think, to me for some of those reasons, because it wasn't easy. And actually, you can see right there, that's the Sonic Universe trademark right there. It's on a plaque.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, in some ways it was effortless in the end, because you went straight to the source and they were like, yeah, sure. No, no objections here.
Oh yeah, no, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
It was all just like, these lawyers that
Yeah.
felt like it wasn't possible or something.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
great that your origin story involves um, cutting through the bureaucracy and just going straight to the source and getting it done.
Yeah, that is kind of cool, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've come such a long way since, or how many years ago was that?
Well, so yeah, the original trademarking was done from the 2010 to 2011 period. That was when it was finally registered. The process takes so, but the concept of that was like somewhere late in 2009. And then I just renewed the trademark for another 10 years until 2031. So yeah, so it's been a while. It was 2009 to 2023, so 14 years, going on 15 years, um, 13, 14 years. Yeah, so um, yeah, there's something about that name and vision, the vision that's behind the sonic universe that is so close to my heart and soul. Um, it's just, I guess it is. It's all part. I mean, it's part of this reality. We don't take anything when we leave, but it's interesting, thinking about that concept of, when we pass from here, we can't, any of the riches that we accumulate or whatever material possessions we can't take with us. But I think we can take who we've become in our soul and the mark that we've left upon the world or the universe. And so I think with the really amazing thing, and I just kind of thought about this in the past few months. I told a couple of people about this, but I thought, I think that we can, like, as music artists, I think that we can maybe take our songs, like maybe we could be out in the ether as a energy body, and maybe we could be humming along to a song that was within us that came out in this lifetime, and maybe that is something that will carry on just because it's a part of sound vibration. Any houses that we buy or whatever, that's done, it doesn't mean anything. But I'm wondering if the sound vibrations or the songs are kind of something that we create that can actually live on for an eternity, especially if people are playing them and singing them after we're gone too.
Right. Maybe the way they carry on here on this earthly plane is like ascends into the heavens, and you get to take all that with you. I love that.
Maybe
I mean, it makes
it's kind
sense. Like if we are vibrational, if that makes that would be so beautiful. And maybe that's
yeah.
what like some of the scripture on like the heavenly voices and the choirs up above. Maybe it's actually layers and layers and generations of songs that were co-created by humans through the divine.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. I feel that that's a definite possibility. I don't see any reason why not. And then it makes me feel like, how blessed am I to be, um, to be someone that is intentionally creating, intentionally being a music artist, because I get to do something that can potentially penetrate time and space and live on past you know, this life, or maybe I could be out there singing that song or something.
Mm.
When you know, other chosen professions, I mean, I guess in the same way, but I just think more so, you know, like if so if you're a painter and you paint something, well, perhaps that vision can be within the vibration. I think in the same way, but just like a sound vibration in itself, a song, I just feel like that is almost so magical. That is maybe the one thing that you really could take with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine so. Um, and on this spec that we're on, you have done quite a lot of traveling in recent months. Tell me about your experiences in Korea.
Oh yeah. Um, yeah. So I will say, I really, I love traveling, and I was so happy to be able to go back to Korea after being gone for a while. I did, this was actually the second time. But you know, over, this was actually the first, other than going to the Hawaiian Islands. This this touring in Korea was the first time that I had been outside of the country since pre 2020. Um, so it's kind of crazy, you know. But I mean, there was a point where, right, where we just couldn't go anywhere, or even when we could, I wasn't gonna do it. You know, there was, uh, you know, the mandate for PCR tests and stuff that was going on even up until kind of recently. I think it ended in the spring, or I don't know, but it was not in effect, and there was no restriction for me coming and going to America. So that was a beautiful thing, and I thought, how blessed am I to have this opportunity now? And the first time in Korea, um, Amanda Darling and I played at the Ultra Music Festival at the Olympic Stadium in Seoul, and that was crazy, crazy times. And then this time, going back, I got to perform um, at quite a few different places. You know, I get to do this show at a university, and that was really special. Play for the college kids and stuff, the Korean students, and then that's, I mean, you never know the future. I'm supposed to go back and do like a bigger show at the universities with like the full Korean band and stuff. But yeah, and I get to perform at this really cool venue called Roxy Live Music Hall, and got to perform on the same night as some really amazing, legendary Korean artists, and yeah, so it's special for me to do that kind of stuff, and culturally enriching. I want to be, um, I want to be my best version of myself. It's hard for me uh, to know, you know, I wish I could speak better. You know, I wish I could speak all languages and everything, but I just kind of have to be my best version of me, and yeah, it was really really amazing. I did get to spend 2.5 weeks there. So.
Oh, like you mean like represent America well?
Yeah, well, I feel like I definitely got that part down for
Yeah.
sure, representing America. But I want to, there's a lot, like, especially with a place like Korea, every country has the way that they feel about maybe an American performing there, and what they should do, and how much they should know, and be aware of. And I think in South Korea in particular, there is a certain expectation that you should be as prepared as possible with your mannerisms, how, even just not the performing part, but when you're socializing or eating, eating is like very important part of culture, and like how you do what you do. It means so much to them. Whereas like in America, if somebody does something at the dinner table, I mean, you might laugh or something because it's funny it seems weird to us or something. But at the same time, you're like, oh, whatever. This guy's picking up his bowl and tilting it this way or something. But in South Korea, if you do something that, pick up the wrong, or, do something that isn't the way that it's kind of meant to be done there, it's kind of a serious thing. And people take it seriously, and they're like, listen, let me show you how to do that, because that's not the way to do that. And it's not funny. Like, you need to know how to do this, because otherwise, you're not like respecting the culture in a way. Not like they say it like that, but you gotta really kind of know mannerisms, and they want you to try as hard as you can to embrace the culture and embrace the language. And where some other, I've been to Japan 7 times, and it seems like they don't care as much about you embracing their culture. They like to give it to you, but it's not as important as it is for a place like South Korea. So interesting. But
It is interesting. It seems they're very mindful as people about their eating habits among other parts of their culture, and eager to share that with you.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful culture, beautiful people.
Yeah. So moving forward for you, what are you being mindful about, and what's ahead?
Yeah. Um, yeah. So every day I strive um, to work towards my goals and dreams, and really that is to uh, to put out my best, most authentic, um, helpful to people, songs and videos that will uplift and transcend humanity. I want to put out as many of those creations as possible, and I just, I as as a human, I need to be in a good place for that. So I just need to continually work on myself and my environment, and making sure that I am transcending as a being. So focusing on my meditation and my affirmations and my sound vibrations and my physical fitness, and 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 mindfulness, and becoming that person in my mind, and expanding my vibrations so that I can write better songs, But really, like, in this reality, it comes down to all this, the reality of being who I want to be as an artist. It requires more than me just being present. It requires me um, being completely resourceful in what I'm doing. Um, so I have, you know, for these music releases to be of the quality that I need them to be. There's the uh, budgetary um, there's a budget for each one of these, and so I need to come up with that above and beyond whatever else I'm doing. So one of the ways that I've been working on that um, is to help people get solar power, and now my new company name is going to be Sonic Energy. Um, and yeah, so I help people to get solar power, and in turn, these help fund my music videos and allow me uh, the space and flexibility to be a music artist. Um, so yeah, it's definitely a struggle, like aligning all this together. But I feel as though um, this is divinely called for me to utilize that to help build up the sonic universe and be able to do what I need to do. Because ultimately, what I care about most is leaving these songs that will help people, and I'll do whatever I have to do in order to do that. And so that's been my path, is uh, creating the extra abundance and budget to be able to push out those songs, because I want to push them out, without without any budgetary constraints. Like, there's so many songs and ideas, and I'm sure every artist can relate to this. But my goal is to put out an exceptional song and music video at least every month, and that's where honestly, that's where I want to be as an artist, and I've just been working towards that, to be able uh, to call those shots, make bring in my cinematographer, bring in mix and mastering, and do and handle that. Because when I have that, when everything is in alignment in that way, I can make things happen so quickly, and I feel my ultimate best. So I cannot wait for the next song and video production, and I'm thinking it's coming quite soon. So
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the next video. And I also love the synchronicity of the energy exchange between the solar and the sonic. That's
oh, you like that?
yeah, I love that. Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
there's some graphics that can be made, like, of like solar energy feeding the musical energy that you're putting out.
Yeah, I'm glad that you like that. I've felt there's not many things around that I felt that I could actually align, the Sonic Universe brand with. But this is something that's been cultivating for a while now, is this kind of this fusion. And then I started doing that, and I thought, well, this is great, because some of my fans have gotten solar energy from me, and then in turn, I know that is then helping me do what is my ultimate passion, which is spreading the musical vibrations. But I feel like it's totally in alignment to help people get solar energy as well, and that they can just go hand in hand. So why not call it Sonic Energy? And then the more of both, they kind of help each other. I get a few more people solar power. I'm able to do another song and music video because of that. And then in turn, there's more energy because now I've had new releases, and there's more people that are interested. Oh, what's the Sonic Universe? And then they go to the website and they find out that they can, have solar power for their home, and now you just link them together, and then they keep on feeding each other. So I think it's kind of a beautiful connection as well.
Yeah, like an energy exchange. What's your website?
Yeah, so well, right now, so obviously thesonicuniverse.com is where you can find all of that. If you want to find out more about solar power, right now you can go to alexarndtsolar.com. That's ALEXARNDT solar.com. Or you can just get in touch with me about that. Soon it will be called Sonic Energy. But
I love that. Yeah. And where else can people find you? I know you're on Instagram, right?
Yeah, so everything online is the Sonic Universe. Instagram to Facebook to whatever, it's the Sonic Universe. And except on Twitter or X, it's Sonic Universe. And thesonicuniverse.com has all the links. Of course, you can find merch on thesonicuniverse.com, as well as signed CDs. And YouTube, there's over 100 videos on the Sonic Universe YouTube channel. Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes. You can buy the albums on iTunes as well, digital.
Excellent. Well, I thank you for being present with me today, and I wish you all the best, and looking forward to staying connected with you on your spiritual journey and the creative freedom that you're ever expanding, Alex.
Thanks, Sienna. It's so nice to be here with you, and I'm really glad that we had I know we've been talking about this for a little bit, so I'm glad that we got to do this, and thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. It was a blessing. All right, take care, Alex.